DJ Event Planner will change the way you manage and run your business. Streamline all of your procedures and software into one easy-to-manage system. DJ Event Planner, the ultimate online planning tool.
Good evening and welcome to tonight's show from DJ NTV, Disc Jockey News TV. Tonight's show is brought to you by Electra Voice, DJ Event Planner, DJ Trivia, Odyssey Innovative Designs and Cases, NLFX Professional, Promo Only, and the DJ NTV Insiders. Good evening and welcome back to our shows here on DJ NTV. Tonight, we're going to be looking at all sorts of really cool things because if you know Howie Darkstar, this man creates, builds, designs. Oh, he's like Ben Stow's long-lost brother.
He did call me a kindred spirit.
He did.
I thought that was an honor.
And that was just before you body slammed him in Las Vegas.
That was a lot of fun. That was.
Oh, Howie Darkstar is with me tonight. Howie, good evening, and thank you for joining me.
Good evening, John. Thank you for having me.
So let's talk a little bit about backups and backup gear, because this is an area, as we were just talking before we came on, that Boy Scout in you has gotten your life where you have the backups and you're prepared for a variety of different situations. So let's dig into that as it pertains to mobile DJs.
Okay, well, I didn't want to do the usual, hey, everybody, bring a second laptop. How about this? How about knowing your laptop and your gear? There are things like this. They're called manuals.
What was that again, Howie?
Manuals. Huh? This is a manual for like an ADJ light. Know your gear. But in particular,
I don't know if I've ever seen one of those. I'm sorry.
I know. And us men, colloquially, we're known as directions. We don't need no stinking directions. Let's get rid of that. But there's a lot of information in there. And when it comes to this topic came up in the showroom the other night, where it's the same old tired argument of PC versus Mac sort of thing. Well, I use both. And one of the things that their biggest thing was, and fear is, what if it runs a backup right before my big event? And there are ways to turn off the updates, and you can do it on either machine. And quite frankly, I don't have a dog in the hunt because I have both.
Yeah.
But you can turn off the automatic updates. As a matter of fact, right here at the bottom here, it says automatic updates off. Mm-hmm. And this is the iPad. And this came in handy for us for our show in Vegas that we did, because I have two of these.
Right.
And what I did as a backup was I had the lighting show on both of these, just in case, as a backup. But what I also did was had the updates turned off, because what happened is Apple did an update to 13.3, I believe it was. And the lighting app, which is I happen to use the Airstream DMX bridge.
Yep.
And when they went and they did the update, the sliders wouldn't work anymore. People couldn't control their lights. And the developer, it's not up to people don't understand this. It's not up to Apple. It's up to the developer to fix the problem. So the people that had their automatic updates on, their light shows were rendered useless. They wouldn't work. So they just had to go with music mode or sound active or just static colors. But being that I did not update, was one thing that saved us to be able to keep going, because it took them, what they had to do is, it wasn't just a few tweaks. They actually had to rewrite the entire program over, and it took, so some guys were without their bridge for 6 weeks.
Ooh, ouch.
Now I've had the problems do come up with Windows PC as well, which they're always doing these updates, this and that. You can turn that off. And another thing too is, we always tell people, don't do an update like Friday before your gig, of course. But they're like, oh, well, I went to a gig and then it started an update. Well, why aren't you in airplane mode? Why are you connecting to the internet during a show?
Right.
I mean, I get that some people will stream music. I don't do that. And, that's just one of the reasons. But there are tons of video. I'm not going to reinvent the wheel here, but there are tons of videos out there on YouTube that you can go and look up whatever device you have and find out how to disable the automatic updates.
Yeah.
And wait for them to mature. I always wait at least a month for them to mature. And I look and I go in the various different forums and so forth and find out what are the problems. And that is how I was still able to do that show in Vegas. Had it updated, I wouldn't be able to use that platform.
That would have been bad.
Right. Exactly.
As Dave mentions in the chat room, now is a good time to update, of course, because you can update and make sure all the bugs are worked out.
Well, but I'm going to disagree with, I don't go right away with an update. I let it mature and I check the forums, because that's where people are going to complain. Hey, I just did the update and this is what is not working. It's like, wow, I'm so glad I didn't update, because my machine is working perfectly fine. So I disable, my internet connection, just use airplane mode. And if I go to a venue, I'm not going to get connected. If it's a venue I've been to before that I've logged into, how it automatically logs in.
Yep.
It won't do that. And then I don't have to worry.
Yeah, that's one of those areas in which I kind of like again, I'm an Apple person, so I have the automatic updates shut off and such. So then I don't have to worry about it. But yeah, I've been to an event where I was DJing in one end of a building. There was another, and he had that situation where all of a sudden it connected and started doing a PC update, and there was nothing he could do except sit and watch
and
it.
it happens with both platforms, John.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole argument to me is silly. Whatever works for you, great, but I don't see the need to argue about who's better.
Yeah.
It's how do you operate that? Are you a good operator?
Yeah.
Are you a good technician? And the way to do that, the information's out there for free. You can join those forums. If you're an Apple guy, there's tons of Apple forums. There's tons of stuff on YouTube that you could look at about your specific device that you have.
Yeah. Yep. And for those wondering, yes, Apple has been pushing recently to do auto updates on most of their devices. And if you do a major iOS update, that is something they're like, you want to turn this on, don't you? Come on. You really want to turn it on. And it's like, no.
Well, I got that incessantly right before Vegas. This show is actually running right now. You can see the lights are
in the background,
up and down. Well, I'm going to turn off the movers, and now you don't see them in the background on me right now. This is actually I'm programming a show for Jimmy.
I was going to say, is that the program from Vegas, so you could hit the stage spotlights and have the stage?
Yes, it is. It is actually. I sent that to you in Dropbox.
Yes. Yep.
And that's what I'm going to do. And there is another backup, especially with this lighting program. And they all do it. I mean, it doesn't matter what brand it is. You can save what they call an archive.
Mm-hmm.
So I named it, Vegas, DJ NTV Vegas 2020. And I archived it. And now it's in Dropbox. And of course, I sent you a copy. I can always grab that anytime.
Sure.
And I have a backup there. I have 2 laptops or 2 iPads,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm good to go on that front. But the same thing works for music as well.
Yeah.
You can have an emergency mix set that you could grab, and I could use that on either the iPad. I even had a mix that I made on this Fire tablet that I could run. And, and that's one reason why, I mean, a lot of people are looking to go smaller with having everything, going into their controller. But I do like the little Mix 5. We've used this several times.
Yeah.
Because you can have 2 controllers in it. But what I would have is my main controller and a backup ready to go that has a premix. And I can just turn that on in a second. And then I can troubleshoot my problem. If it's a PC problem or a Mac problem, okay, just bring another machine in and then go from there.
Mm-hmm.
Or I can use, DJ on the iPad
if you have to. Yeah.
Yeah, if you have to. It's just a redundancy after redundancy. And what I did, which I encourage a lot of people to do, is before Vegas, because I consider every event mission critical. And I practice mistakes. And as Ben says, the pros don't practice until they get it right. They practice till they can't get it wrong.
Yes.
And so I would intentionally cause problems and see how fast I could recover from them. And how fast could I actually make a program if I had to?
Oh, okay.
That sort of thing. And that's how I was able to quickly, in Vegas, aim what was called podium, where that was the spotlight with static lighting for the podium when the presenters were up there. And we didn't have a problem with that the one morning, and I had to rebuild that program, but I did it in just a couple of minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Quick, and we were right back up.
But I did practice for weeks and weeks and weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And that to me is a form of backing up, because, it starts here first in the heart, if you love it, and then in the head. And I got that up here now. All right, if something happens, I know what to do. I don't have to panic. I don't have anxiety. It is what it is. We'll just deal with it and deal with it quickly.
Mm-hmm. And that we were able to do, and we were back up and running before the first speaker hit the stage.
Yes. And what I had such a great time out there with that all-star crew. The setup, I mean, I think for most people, it would have been an anxiety-ridden task, but everybody had their little narrow alley that, okay, Ben was doing the sound, I was doing the lights. You had Jeremy and his wife Jerry, doing the staging and the trussing, and oh my gosh, his wife is amazing at wiring.
Yeah,
I mean, but everything went so well, and we finished an hour before Ben went on with the keynote. I thought that was fantastic. Just working with a crew like that, I was honored. I really was.
Yeah, it went very well.
Yeah, and the teardown. Oh my goodness, boy, you had an all-star volunteer team come in. We broke down in an hour.
Yeah, that was crazy.
That was amazing.
I didn't expect that, but
I didn't either, because I was sitting and they kept bringing me fixtures, and I'm coiling wires. They were bringing them over to me faster than I could coil them up and put them in the pile, because we had lighting from 4 different groups of people that we combined together to pull this off. And I had to okay, this belongs to John. This is my stuff. It goes to this belongs to Jeremy. And I was like, oh my goodness. But it was great. I mean, it was the fastest hour that ever flew by for me as a teardown.
Yeah, it went fast. Sounds like my crew must be just outside the building. You might be able to hear them over the microphone. They're out there.
Actually, I can't. And yeah, that's why I picked the SM58. I had a mic like yours, but it would pick up the dogs barking next door. So what I did was I bought well, Ben has this on special right now for a fantastic price, is the MVI.
Okay.
And it's just XLR in the back, and then there's a USB that goes to the computer. And I'm using the SM58 because it rejects that signal. You can't hear. I can hear the dog, but you can't.
No, we don't. I'm not hearing anything like that.
I'm telling you, this thing is, and it's self-powered. It powers off of the computer, so I could take it anywhere. It's lightweight, and I'm able to do this.
Mm-hmm. And Ben will be talking, actually, to give a little plug here, we'll be getting into more podcasting type things with Ben here at the top of the hour, so at 9 o'clock. Yeah.
Tell him that this is what I'm using. And I bought this from Ben, and now it's on super sale. Unbelievable price Ben has it for.
Yeah, he's got quite a few. I was, for the ad that's coming out in tomorrow's paper, they're putting the podcasting sale is what they've got, they've got lighting and all sorts of different podcasting things. There we go. And when you guys catch that show, we'll have the links and everything for the podcasting show to talk about that. But yeah, they've got all sorts of things that we'll be digging into tonight. A lot of the cool toys that we like to play with.
Oh, I have plenty of them here. I'm just crazy enough that I actually have. You can see the lights that we're going now. I have the second one, so I have 2 bridges, and 8 of the Wi-Fi transceivers. I'm just redundant after redundant. And one of the cool things is because I have the 2 iPads and I have the 2 Airstream DMX bridges, what I can do is, I think I mentioned this on another show, that the fixtures, especially, movers have it too, and so do the PARs, okay? When you go in the menu, they have a last feature, LAST. And when you click on that, there's a drop-down menu, and it'll say, if the fixture loses DMX signal, what do you want this light to do? Do you want it to go blackout? Do you want it to hold the last command that it was given? Or do you want it to go to show mode, meaning it just wiggle, waggle, whatever? And I always pick last, because I've had it happen where I've lost the DMX signal. And the only thing that happens if it's a color change or a chase or a movement is that it stops with the lights on. And then when you reestablish a DMX connection, the lights start doing their thing again, and people don't know. They just think it's part of the show.
Exactly, yeah.
And what I'm able to do when I have these things deployed, I have them both up and ready to run, and with both laptops, and you can see right here is an on and off switch.
Yes.
If for some reason something happened to either the iPad or the other bridge, I could just go and in an instant just go click like that, and the lights will just start moving again. They'll be on a second iPad, a second Airstream DMX bridge.
Excellent. Yeah, having that redundancy in the backup for those critical components. How about the lights themselves, Howie? How do you handle situations like that where you might have some failure, something may decide tonight's the night to die?
Well, if it's a fixture that goes out, they're not going to know, because the DMX signal is going to just go through. So let's say I have a chain of uplights. One might be out. If it's not critical, I don't worry about it. But what I do was, because I always include this no matter what, I always uplight the head table or the sweetheart table. And typically I like to have them right across the room from me. And that's a long run for a DMX cable. So yes, I will use one of these transceivers, and that will receive the proprietary signal, and they all have it. You can have, this is Wi-Fi for ADJ, Chevet has DeFi, they'll all do the same, but I will use battery powered uplights behind them, and then just with a short little DMX cable, just make a chain of 3 to 5 lights behind that table. And here is a fixture. This is not, doesn't come as a battery powered up light.
No. I think I've seen that. I've seen that, those types of lights before.
Yeah, I converted this. So this will actually work as it will work plugged in or off a battery. And let's just, well, there we go. And there you go. And there's no cables. It's running off the battery.
Sure.
So what I've had is, because I use a double pole, double throw switch here, it can't possibly get power from the battery or AC at the same time.
Right.
So if, like it did happen to me already, and I use battery powered speakers as well, where boom, the power went out, and they're, the venue's scrambling to run around and light little candles on the tables and so forth. And I just go and boom, okay, we're going to battery powered up lights now.
Yeah.
And I do have some. And then the speakers, the music keeps going, and they're looking around, what's going on? And all of a sudden you become the hero.
Yes.
And then it's all over the net. And then it's like, oh my gosh, this guy's a Boy Scout. He's prepared.
He's got it.
Yep. I mean, that was one of the comments. Again, this guy must be a Boy Scout. He was prepared.
Nice.
And it's free advertising, and basically a referral almost. Hey, this guy saved my wedding.
Yeah, that's an important thing, and I think after you had talked about that a few times, that was one of the desires I had, to have that ability to make noise if the power goes out, and to have some lighting if the power goes out. And now I have my little bag that has a couple of battery lights in it, and it has those inverters and such. So
yep.
If something
Speaking
happened,
of the inverters, this is what you're talking about, like the Omar. Now there's a step up from this. And I think I've shown this before. I have Velcro on the back. Somebody had a question that they had a last minute change at a wedding, and they asked Brian, and then he brought me in the conversation, and it was like, hey, do you think the Omars would power a 12-inch top for ceremony? Because it turned out, well, they promised them the electric, and well,
it didn't happen.
And I said, let me check. So I did. I hooked it up, and what we did is turn it way down, power it up, and let it charge the capacitors in the 12-inch speaker. This actually powered a ZLX 12P electric voice, 12-inch top for 3 hours at cocktail level. So I thought, for $20 more, they have one that's double the power. And now it's like, I'm not afraid to go anywhere. So for $200, if I'm using my powered system, they're not going to have a sub, but they're going to still have an event. Because I would just take that and plug it right into the Omar and let it sit on the ground, under the tripod or what have you. And they're not going to care about something like that. They're just going to look at you as like, you saved my event.
Right. So I'm looking at the Omar's one, which I've got a 42 or so a 40,000 milliamp one.
Yeah, that's about $100, 100.
Yeah.
Yeah, that will power a 12-inch top easily for a reception. But you would need two. Unless you wanted to just limp through with one speaker.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, a little over $200 they would pay for itself because they last years.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I have 3 of these because I keep 2 of them in my my DJ controller case, and it runs my laptop and it runs my controller, and I did the full load test on it, and I did like 12 hours, so it's more than enough to do that. And it also saves me from wiring, because I open that up and all I have to do is just run 2 XLRs out to the speakers, and then I'm running two wires from the powered speakers to power them.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a quick setup. I just turn everything on in the coffin, and they're run by the Omars. And even my laptop is run by an Omar, and that I've gotten 10 hours out of, which is more than enough for any event.
For sure. That they are.
Yeah.
Well, Howie, we're going to have to wrap things up here, my friend.
It was a pleasure.
Yeah, well, thank you. Thank you very much. And as Howie mentioned earlier in the show, the chill room, the DJ NTV chill room, is open pretty much every night. Generally kicks off somewhere around the 9 o'clock to 10 o'clock Eastern time frame. Tonight, it will be starting about 9:30. Would that be? That'll be 9:30 our time Central, so it'll be about 10:30. Because Brian and Jay will be on starting at 10:30 Eastern, and then 10 o'clock Eastern, going to about 10:30 tonight. And then they're going to take the educational part of the show will be taken to the chill room tonight, which is out at djntv.com/chill, and that will take you there. So, yeah. Once again, Howie, thank you much. We've got to bounce here because we've got our next show just a few minutes away. So we'll catch you later. Thank you guys.
Thank you very much. I hope you all have a good